Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
So you want to tell the story, to weave the fate of your friends and run the game. Or maybe you're just really excited to ask, how do you want to do this? And that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Casters Guild. I'm Rick Perry, your Guild Master and Forever DM.
I'm Baron Kane, also your Forever DM. Kane? Weird.
And joining us tonight for the first time as a new Guild member, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Anthony, also known as the Disco Daddy on the interwebs, and I am also a Forever DM.
So as you can see, you have a nice group of 3 Forever DMs ready to tell you how to become your own Forever DM.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
A little better.
Hold on,
But you're going to be excited about it because it's fun.
Yeah.
You're going to be excited about it. It's going to be fun. It's fun to DM. That's the whole reason we're doing this. We're going to teach you how it can be a whole lot of fun to be Dungeon Master.
Not frustrating at all. Your players, they always do exactly what you think they're going to be doing narratively. Yeah. It's gonna
And one of them will take over DMing for you at some point so that you can play.
Yep,
Don't worry.
just like they said they would.
Just like they said they would.
Yep.
As soon as they're done writing their campaign, like they're just like, oh my god, I'm so close.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Just edging it out.
Yep.
So last season, if you're wanting to learn how to play Dungeons & Dragons, please go back to Season 1 and listen to Episode 2, where we teach you how to play Dungeons & Dragons. We kind of dipped a little bit into the DM role in that episode, but we're going to give you a little bit more detail on how to DM in this episode. We feel like we've covered how to play the game. Here's how to run the game. And some tips that we've learned over the years being Dungeon Master, and some how we do it, how other people do it, and how you can decide how you want to do it.
And I have to say, too, that I think given our panel right here, I think we're going to run the gamut of the different kinds of ways to run a game. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I always wanted to be a narrative storyteller, like super engaging and everything. Most of you will find out that is not the case whenever you're running your first game. It is. I mean, just like we were just talking about right before the show, is it always wants to start as like Lord of the Rings. It always ends as Monty Python.
And if you start as Monty Python, you will end up as Lord of the Rings. It's going to happen.
I just got to take the different approach. That's what I'm learning.
Because if you start out with a bunch of silly characters and they've named themselves things like Booger Boss and loves to spooge, then by the end of the game, Booger Boss will be writing an elegant soliloquy to the honor of the death of loves to spooge. I guarantee it.
What was our character, Baron?
Man, I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out from you for the last couple of months.
Something McBuffugger.
What? Yeah. And it was funny though, because like you know, I know why you bring him up, because that's exactly how it started. He started out. Oh yeah, his name was it was Buffugger McGee.
Yeah, that's what it was, Buffugger McGee.
It started out, but then it just turned into like this epic character that has this extensive background, and we ended up changing his name halfway through because it was just like, no, he needs a better name after all of this. What happened?
Buffugger deserves better than what we have given him.
So he started out Buffugger McGee, and then it turned out he was like an exile from the Feywild. He was the last surviving member of his clan. I was like, what?
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You try to make something silly, you're going to end up with one of the most serious and best written characters that you've ever had.
And then there's the other end of that. There's the other end of that where one of my players, he had a narrative tale of like, you know, the typical paladin of good versus evil and like justified vengeance. And now we make him basically anytime he's not there, he's Mickey Mouse. He has a Mickey Mouse voice, all of his dialogue, whether he likes it or not. But that's his, you know, he missed a session.
That's what he gets.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get into this. So let's say we have somebody who's played D&D before, because we kind of
played D&D before. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought we were saying
because we kind of went into if you've never played in D&D before on the last time we kind of covered this topic. So we've had somebody who's been playing D&D for a while. They want to be a dungeon master for the first time. What are the first steps? Where are we starting?
Oh, we're not learning here?
No.
I thought that's what we were here. I'm wanting to learn from you guys.
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, you know, it was really, really great meeting you guys. Thank you. I'll see myself.
Yeah.
All right. So, player wants to be a DM. Where do they start? Google's really great tool. I learned a lot from YouTube and Reddit personally. I mean, I learned a lot from watching other people DM. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it is an option, your best bet is to start out as a player. Mm-hmm. Just straight up, just be a player.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's not an option.
Yeah. And if you have been to play for a while, last time we said start with, a basic set of rules, and if you can afford them, get the books. If you're gonna be a dungeon master, you need the 3 core books, I think. You can probably get away with like doing a one-shot or like an early campaign with just a basic set of rules, but you're gonna need to get the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and the Monster Manual. And whether you get that physically or through D&D Beyond, either way, you're gonna need all 3 of those books.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need the Dungeon Master Guide, and you definitely need the Player's Handbook. Monster's Manual, I mean, sure, but I've definitely pulled stats out of my ass before as a Dungeon Master. I mean, really, you just need to be able to kind of improv, and if you can have a conversation with somebody, you can improv.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all dialogue is, just improvisation of something else somebody has said.
That's even kind of like, I would say that like the DM's Guide probably gives you ways, whether you realize it or not, to fudge stat blocks on monsters. Like you can just be like, okay, this is a stat block on a monster, so I can just fill in the blanks here.
Yeah.
Which that would be another kind of fill the blank
mm-hmm.
thing too, is a monster block. But
monster block, yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that I've ever not fudged a monster block. Ever.
Oh, almost entirely every single time.
Because
one way or another.
Sometimes I have to make a monster more dangerous. Sometimes I have to make it less dangerous. Let me tell you something. Ghosts are nothing to fuck with.
Not in 5th edition. Definitely not.
I don't know who thought that challenge rating was accurate, but no. Those things can essentially one-shot a human character. Or, any fucking elf or a dwarf.
Mm-hmm. Anything like that, honestly. Like, I was running Curse of Strahd for some players, and it was early on, and they throw some shadows in there early on in the murder house, the intro adventure to Curse of Strahd, and Shadow's CR is 1/2.
What?
Yeah, but they will straight up murder a level 20 character. Like, it is not difficult. So yeah, don't be afraid to fudge some monster blocks. That'll come with experience, though. You also don't have to feel the need to fudge a monster block. If you decide to run, for lack of a better phrase, straight chalk, like if you I bought this book, I'm gonna run it the way the book says to run it. Don't feel like you're a bad DM because you're doing it that way. You will learn how to customize stuff on your own over time.
Oh yeah. Well, saying, you don't. Eventually, you just don't even need the book. You don't even need the monster manual. Just figure it out.
Oh yeah, this bookshelf behind me is just for show now. Like I hardly ever once in a blue moon I'll see like a TikTok or something and I'll be like, "Oh, really? That's a thing?" And then I'll look at the page that they reference. I'm like, "Oh, that is a thing. I've definitely been playing this wrong the entire time." It's always a learning experience.
And fuck TikTok for teaching me about D&D. What? And it's not even like, oh, I don't read the book and I don't know how this works. No, it's like, here's a new way to look at this.
Yeah. What was it the other day? We were talking about it. There's something that's like, so grappling and shoving, I didn't know was like, if you have multi-attack, that's just one of the attacks. It's not like your action. I was like, man, like I could have been seriously fucking up my players. That's a shove to prone and then a, hit with advantage.
Yeah.
But also they also have the ability to do that too, which they are way overpowered. Typically, I make my monsters more dangerous because I made the grave DM mistake of giving your party way too many magic items very early.
Mm-hmm.
That can be fun, though.
I introduced a deck of many things in the first session.
Oh, my.
It's not even the one they have now.
Oh, okay. But the deck of many things is something fun to throw at a character at any level, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a punishment at, like, level 1, though.
Yeah.
Really
maybe take some of the cards out if you're gonna be giving it to them that early.
No.
All or nothing. All or nothing.
It was supposed to be, and I can go down that whole first few episodes for a while, but they didn't even take the bait. They're just like, why are they showing off this deck of cards? That's dumb. I'm going to go over here and kill these goblins. I was like, all right, cool, fine, that's fine. That's probably good.
Right, it's probably for the best.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're running D&D for the first time, you're gonna have to have a story that you want to run for your players. And as a dungeon master, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can write your own, which is probably one of the most fun ways, but a lot of times you don't have the time or the experience to do that. You might feel a little intimidated by creating your own whole new world. And there's nothing wrong with pulling from somewhere else, but there's nothing wrong with go ahead and tackling that your first time either.
I will say from experience, maybe not try to do that first time. Try to, make your own world and then run players through that. That is a bit much.
Yeah.
See, I did the opposite. I made my own world and I did like my own map. I even had a map commission based off of that. And like I took the elements from other worlds that I liked and put it in my world, and like the Faerun I liked and put it in my world. I took airships from Everon and put it in my world. I am a lore whore and I like to have my own, but I also understand that I'm not that, imaginative. So I'm not that well of a storyteller. So I definitely steal things. Never underestimate the power of theft as a DM.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, definitely. I'm learning that myself. Like I've tried to do like my own worlds and stuff like that. And like this world I'm working on now, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. This sounds cool. I'm putting it in the world. I don't care what anybody says. And you know what? It's a lot of fucking fun.
So I'm actually running my second pre-written campaign. The first one was just like a one-shot that I found online, but big mistake as a first one, Out of the Abyss. Super terrible as a first time, as like a new-ish DM. For one, like, our first arc of our campaign took forever. And now I'm doing this, and Out of the Abyss is don't do it yourself. Like, unless you're like, a masochist, like in that case, go for it. If you hate yourself and your players, do it.
Out of the Abyss is written really weird. Like, even if you're somebody who regularly runs pre-run adventures, because that's me. I have never run an adventure or a campaign from a world that I built myself just because I don't have the time. You know what I mean? I always have cool concepts and I write stuff down, and maybe one day they'll all come together. But like, I always run out of a book. And even me looking at Out of the Abyss, I was like, what is this supposed to be?
I'm still waiting to run one of my campaigns.
I thought you were forever DM.
Oh, I mean, no. I mean, I'm talking like pre-built, bought modules.
Oh, okay.
I've been sitting on Dragon Mountain since AD&D. I've still not gotten to run it.
So
all my Pathfinder books and these, like, I wanted to run Storm King's Thunder, but we ended up doing Out of the Abyss because they wanted to do demons, and then they did not know it was going to be in the Underdark the entire time. To be fair, I didn't either. I didn't really read it.
Yeah. I would recommend, if this is going to be your first time DMing, that you go pick up the Dungeons and Dragons starter kit, and in that starter kit is an adventure called Lost Mines of Phandelver, and it is an excellent starter. It can lead right into a full campaign that you create yourself, or it has hooks that lead right into the Tyranny of Dragons books, which are okay with some modification. And it has probably, in my opinion, one of the best starting towns in Dungeons and Dragons pre-written history. Phandelver is an awesome little town to kick off any campaign from.
I don't know what I was pronouncing it as before, but it definitely wasn't that. I mean, now that you said it out loud, that's definitely how it's pronounced.
Right.
Hold on, I had to look. How does this look like?
That's one of the other joys of D&D is how do different people like pronounce things.
Yeah.
The only reason I know that's the correct way to pronounce it is because I heard Chris Perkins say it.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much an indicator
What,
for sure.
Yeah. What does he know?
Who's that guy? Chris Perkins who? Like, isn't that like that restaurant up in the Midwest?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He wants great coffee, I think.
So if you absolutely positively don't know what to do, you're like, I don't know what game I'm going to run. I don't know where to start. I've also heard, so pick up the starter kit, run Lost Mines of Phandelver. It's awesome. It comes with some pre-written characters.
Yeah, going back to our original How to Play D&D thing, I think we said that is probably the best resource that D&D's put out, is that starter kit.
Yeah. Now, I've also heard the Essentials kit is really good, but to be honest with you, I haven't picked it up just because I've been in this game long enough now that I was like, I don't need an Essentials kit. But I've heard it's really good.
I can't.
The starter kit might actually be free online too.
Oh, nice.
I'm not 100% sure.
It is. If you buy the starter kit, it comes with some things that obviously you can't get in the free version because the free version is all just digital PDFs and stuff like that. And the starter kit comes with like dice and stuff like that, and a little dungeon master screen and all kinds of other really cool stuff that you can't get as part of the digital one. But if you are trying to do this, on the cheap, yes, everything you can get in the starter kit that can be printed, if you will, the adventure, the starter rule set, some first-time characters for your players, they're all available for free on Wizards' website.
Yeah, I mean, and if you also live in the timeline that we do at the time of this recording.
I do.
Oh, cool. Hang on to your butts here, because there are a lot of great things online for you to be using that PDF would absolutely, and you don't necessarily need the dice. I mean, you have your Roll20s and your fantasy grounds and your JPEGs and your pings or PNGs, whatever. As long as it's not a GIF, you're good.
Right.
The other cool thing, I think, I don't have a D&D Beyond subscription, but D&D Beyond is an excellent resource. The only reason I don't use it is because I've already bought all the books and I don't want to buy them again digitally. I'm not that rich. But I have a couple of my players who use D&D Beyond every day, and looking at the resources, it's amazing. And if you are a dungeon master, you can get a dungeon master subscription, quote unquote, and all your players can then tap into your campaign and use all the things that you let them use.
And that's a resource that your whole group can pitch in on. Don't get that subscription, or don't let them make you get that subscription on your own. That will be a whole group resource that you can all benefit from. And if they're trying to get you to do this, make sure that they pitch in on it.
Right.
Yeah, and like I have my wish list on Roll20 that just lives, like it's ever evolving, and then every so often I'll be like, hey guys, added some more stuff to the wish list. If you also want to experience your character's demise in a fashionable way, here's the way to do it. And they've bought me they bought me some Kobold presses, press books. They bought me map packs. They bought me Mordekainen's and something else on top of all the stuff I bought too. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's a player in the game. Everybody should be pitching in. It's not on the dungeon master to do the thing unless you want to. I mean, if you want to be if you want to be Dungeon Daddy Warbucks, then absolutely do the thing.
And the reason I bring up D&D Beyond is I believe if you do get a D&D Beyond subscription, especially a Dungeon Master subscription, I do believe Lost Mines of Phandelver and everything that comes in the starter kit is just included.
Oh, cool. I actually didn't know that. That's super cool.
And let me tell you, hashtag not sponsored by any of this.
I mean, I'm sitting here trashing some of the narrative works of Wizard of the Coast, and we're also doing the same thing for some of their other narratives. So I think it's kind of, dividing by 0. Is that what it is? Or no?
Yeah, okay, that works.
Dividing by 1. I think that is. I don't know. I'm terrible at math. That's why I have computers do it for me.
All right. So you've decided you want to run a game. You've either put yourself together a little one shot, or you've bought something and you've decided what you want to run. Next up, I think, is very important. You need to sit down with your players and have a session 0.
Always. Well, I will say that there is one thing that you should do before the session 0, and that is determine with your characters, with your players, on what kind of game you are even wanting to play. Everybody needs to be on the same page. Because if you want to start out playing this serious game as a dungeon master and they turn the whole thing silly, let me tell you, that is super frustrating. If you go in as a dungeon master with one preconceived notion of what this game's going to be and they just kind of, diddle it, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I was talking about this already. I had this notion of high fantasy. I don't know. I've been watching Critical Role since season 1, episode 3, consistently. A little behind now because of work, but you got to make some sacrifices being a corporate shell. So I love the narrative aspect of Matt Mercer, and also of there's not another D&D podcast. There's Adventure Zone I just started, but yeah, you have had this notion of being a DM like Matt Mercer, and let me tell you what, he's a great storyteller, but you can't come into a session thinking this is exactly what I'm going to be doing and this is exactly how it's going to go, because once one of your players chases down and turns into a pig, chases down a pig and then turns into a pig and then romances the pig and then goes and fornicates with said pig, all that shit is out of the window. It's at that point, it is just silly campaign.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
the other thing is, you can't expect yourself to be Matt Mercer when your players are not the people who Matt Mercer is playing with.
Yep,
exactly. They are all on the same page. Matt Mercer is an amazing DM, but at the same time, they're all great players.
Yeah.
And they know also that they're putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are they playing to have fun and running to have fun, but they also know that if they need to be on the same page to have a consistent show.
Mm-hmm.
So they need that tone.
That's one thing I learned. I wouldn't say early on, but eventually, is this is just a game. We don't have to have your expectations shouldn't be so high. You guys are having fun. I mean, we're just a whole bunch of drunk idiots that like to play D&D together on Saturdays. I mean, that's it.
Right.
We're just all playing the same game together.
Yep. Yeah, if you start getting stressed out because of the game, because you feel like you're not living up to expectations, or you first off, you need to reevaluate these expectations. Second off, you need to maybe step away for a little bit. You shouldn't be getting stressed out over something that's fun.
All right. So if you've discussed with your players what kind of game you want to have,
now
you get to session 0. I think the best thing to do with Dungeons & Dragons is to sit down with the session 0 and have nobody have a character created and have everybody create their characters together. A lot of people are like, okay, just bring a character of this level for this setting. And you can tweak it at session 0 or whatever, but it's more fun when you can put it together. All the players can be on the same page and create their characters together and kind of create a cohesive unit, if you will.
I think for a baseline D&D game, that would work.
Yeah, I mean, for a one shot, absolutely. I mean, you bring your own character, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
For a long campaign where you guys are expecting to play, I don't know, like more than a few months. Yeah, I mean, it helps to have like, everybody talking together and like storytelling, and like people were like, oh, I really want to have this guy. It's like, oh, cool. I actually have a guy that's similar. Let's be friends or allies or somewhere, like, or just drinking buddies from the same tavern. Maybe it's in Fanfliver or whatever the hell that place is called.
Yeah, having like a cohesive character background where people know each other, where you start out friends. I mean, I know I've talked to a few people who feel like that's kind of railroading the game in the beginning, but that's also the people who will make a rogue and steal from the group for the rest of the game too. So.
Yeah. Don't be a shitty player. Like if that's the kind of dynamic that your table has, then that's great, good for you. But like, don't be shitty if it's not,
Right. And that's kind of the point of the session 0, because if you're creating the rogue that's stealing from the party the entire game, and you let everybody know it's session 0, I'm playing the rogue that's stealing from the party the entire game, and everybody's like, oh, that's a neat idea, then go for it. Yeah. But like if everybody else is kind of like, oh, I don't want to do that, that sounds really crappy, like do something else.
Yeah, and on the other end of that, there's the other extreme. I mean, well, there's the continuous of that extreme is, if you want to have a super intrigue of like romance and cutthroat and other debauchery like Game of Thrones or style, some people just might not be comfortable with that. You might not want to have that kind of game if you have a player that's like, session 0s are a foundation of setting expectations of where your limits are. I mean, you don't have to do that public. Like, you don't have to do that in front of the group. You can just bring your dungeon master aside, or vice versa. Make sure that you're setting your expectations appropriately.
Yeah, and if you have triggers, you got to tell your DM that completely. And if you got a good DM, they're going to listen to you. If you have a, just to keep it not super controversial or whatever, is say you have a trigger of spiders. And you go up to the DM and you're like, look, spiders, they really trigger me. And they're like, well, I have half the game plan for spiders, so you're going to have to deal with it. That's not.
Shit, my whole big bad evil guy was Lolth. Great. There goes all that.
Right. But as a DM, that could be your chance to be like, look, this was going to be the whole game, so if this is going to be triggering for you, you may want to step out. Mm-hmm. Or just change the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you can absolutely, if your BBEG, big bad evil guy, was going to be Lolth, then just make the same thing, except instead of a spider bottom, it's got a scorpion bottom, and now you have your very own new big bad evil guy, and their motivations don't have to change at all.
You said spider bottom, and my brain went somewhere else.
Oh my God. No. Spider just all wrapped up in its own web, consensually.
Yeah, consensual spider bondage for sure. Spider SBDSM.
All right, yeah, I'll see myself out now.
Yeah, but as long as we're talking about how to be the DM, and we're talking about this from the new DM's perspective, yeah, if your player comes to you and says, these things trigger me, I really don't want these things in my game, or these things really make me uncomfortable, then consider changing the game. If you absolutely positively cannot change it, and everybody else is on board with this thing that you have created, then maybe ask them to get in on a different game, maybe run a different game at a different time for that person.
Yeah.
I will say that if your player comes to you and says, not consensual sexual encounters trigger me, and you're like, no, I absolutely have to have this in my game, maybe it's time to reevaluate yourself.
Yeah,
right.
Yes, absolutely. Like, there's a difference between, because I was actually just about to say, like, there's a difference between saying, if your trigger is spiders, what I would be is like, all right, well, here is it a absolutely hard no, or is it a not consistent because this is going to bother me? Because on the other end of that, narrative is supposed to make you feel certain things. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
either like if it's one of those things where like, it kind of creeps me out. It's like, cool, I'm going to use that. But if
Yes.
it's
Mhm.
but if it's like something like I have a legitimate phobia and I will probably piss and or shit my pants, maybe both. But like if it's something where you have to have terrible traumatic events in your game in order to make your like narrative work, I mean, get fucked, dude. Like, no, we're
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are other ways around that,
hmm
obviously.
But hopefully, if you're starting a long time campaign like that and you're sitting down for a session 0, these are people you've known for a while anyway. These are your friends. And as long as you just go by the general rule of don't be a dick, I mean, you guys are going to come to a consensus and find something that everyone can enjoy.
It's the
Right.
golden rule.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
So-
like all my players, we've all known each other for years and years and years. And then some of the newer players I haven't known for that long, but like we were all bartenders and servers together. Like everything that we say at the table is not nearly as terrible or dark as what we've said behind the bar to customers and or to each other. But it's always in typically, sometimes, I wouldn't say the majority of the time, is in a loving manner.
Right.
On the other end of that, I will say if you are playing with people you don't know, let's say you're dungeon mastering for Adventurers League or at a convention or for a bunch of strangers, I usually generally go by the rule of if I could tell the story of what happened in the game today to my parents, then we're good. If you're doing anything that you would like, oh, I'd feel weird telling my parents about this, then don't put it in that game.
Well,
My mom's filthy, and she's a terrible example of that. But I definitely understand where you're coming from.
yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't talk to my mom about the last game I ran, but at the same time, it wasn't
For strangers.
right.
Yeah. So like I only go by that rule when I'm running for strangers. Like I said, I mean like when I'm running for my friends, then I put more stuff in there. We talk about it in the session 0. But if you're running for people like at a convention or Adventures League and it's for strangers, that's my general rule of thumb.
So, ogre sex with friends, leave the ogre sex out with strangers. Got it.
You got it.
We're friends, right?
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, good.
Full
I have
on
some spider
ogre sex.
bondage in the back, so
Nice. I'm looking up this fan art later.
oh, Lolth fan art. Oh my god, it's been
Oh,
around.
there's got to be
It's been around
tons.
forever. Not that I
Well-
would know.
Loth bottoming. Let's.
I don't know. I feel like Lolth is the same energy of a hot
Oh.
vampire chick from Resident Evil, just
Oh.
with like about 6 more legs.
It's funny because I think I imagined her essentially the same way as that
Yeah.
hot vampire chick, except she's got a spider body. So
That's
Yeah.
funny. I think we've mentioned her every episode this season so far.
why not? It deserves to be
yeah.
talked about. It
Yeah.
deserves to be
Somebody's gonna be listening to this like 3 or 4 years when that this whole meme is dead and be like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Go play Resident Evil 8 and shut up.
Yeah.
All right. So now we got to start talking a little bit more about rules because as a dungeon master, there's a lot of different ways to play this game. And there's certain points where as a dungeon master, it says in the player's handbook to the player, ask your dungeon master about blah, because you're going to be the one who has to make a decision on this. So we're all sitting down at session 0. We're all creating your characters. How are we going to determine our ability scores? There are
This is
3
subjective.
generally accepted ways to do this. You can roll for stats, you can do point buy, and you can do standard array. And each one of those has kind of branching options coming off of those. My opinion on these methods is point buy, throw that shit out. Roll your stats if you want to be more fun. Use a standard array if you want to be more fair. I usually end up leaning toward the standard array.
I like rolling my own stats, and depending on if I'm in a bad mood or not, depends how many dice you get, and rather know how many dice you get, and if you get to drop the lowest. So 46 is typically the standard, the industry standard. You drop the lowest. The other one being 3d6, and you just keep it. I don't know.
I've also seen 4d6 drop the lowest if you don't have at least one score above 15. Start over. I've seen where if you want to be a wizard, then when you're rolling your strength, you only get 3d6 and have to take it. But if you're rolling your intelligence, you roll 6d6 and drop the lowest 3. So there's a lot of different ways to roll for stats.
There's also you don't know what your stats are. The DM, you have to figure it out as you roll your dice. The DM knows your stats. You have to take notes. Like you roll a 7. All right, that's a wisdom score of 11. Oh, I have this much of a modifier. Okay, cool. Let me write that down so I don't forget. That's some sadistic shit right there, and I love it.
I think Rick did that once.
Yeah. I ran a one shot like that where all the characters woke up in a tavern with amnesia, and they didn't even know what class they were.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm definitely doing that at some point.
I do point buy system, by the way. Because one, I don't trust my players to roll ever. I got burned way too many times. And then standard array works for me too, but I like point buy because I feel like it feels like it gives the players the illusion of control. So if they want to min-max, they can min-max. I mean, I'm not a big min-max fan, even though I catch myself doing it once in a while. But it gives people that feeling of control where they have built this character. So
I've also recently found I was a player on a different project a few months ago, and they did something really cool where they did 46 drop the lowest, but you do it 3 times and you pick the set that you want the most.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, it's kind of like a best of both worlds, where you do have a little bit of that illusion, but also you're still rolling for that random that everybody likes.
I've played for like over 20 years. I have probably done every different way that you could think of. And I probably think that my favorite is just you just roll 46, drop the lowest 6 times, and then just put those numbers where you want.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I do it too.
Yeah.
That like I said, that's probably the most fun, is rolling your stats, especially if you're doing it at session 0 and everybody's doing it together. And if you're gonna roll your stats, my recommendation would be to make each player do it individually. Like, not everybody rolling their stats at the same time. Like, make it a group thing where somebody's sitting there rolling their stats and they roll an 18 and everybody cheers, and like somebody rolls a 4 and they're like, oh, make it a whole fun experience.
And what's cool about that though is because if someone rolls a 4, the whole group could be like, you know what, let's just let them roll it again. Do we want to let them roll it again? Yeah, let's go ahead and let them roll it again.
I do like the aesthetic of everybody kind of looking at it, because as nerds, typically, not always, the rule, not the exception, we are not very sports inclined. The listeners can't see, but I am very, very pasty. So having that something to cheer for and like root for of a higher or lower, if you're a dick, just something to like kind of have some sort of the outcome of this thing will impact your reaction. Like, I guess that's just dice rolling games in general, but it's kind of setting the precedent of the theme and the mood of the entire game that you're going to be playing.
Yeah.
Rolling dice is fun. We're going to enjoy it as players. It's fun to take the shiny click-clacks and roll them on the table and see what happens.
Yeah. The clicky-clacky math rocks. Yeah, and also if you're very new, congratulations, you now have a new obsession. Not hobby, obsession with dice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which I will take this opportunity to once again state my tradition. I said this in the season 1 episode. If you are a dungeon master, and I'm gonna guild decree this time. Here's my guild decree. If you want to be a dungeon master, you need to go buy extra dice. And if you have a player playing with you who's playing for the first time, you need to gift them a set of dice.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, I remember
You're
that.
not letting them borrow a set of dice. You are gifting them a full poly set. So to make it concise, guild decree, if you are a dungeon master, gift your first time players their first set of dice.
Now, I will say this: if you can afford it,
Of course.
it doesn't have to be super pretty dice. It could be a mismatched set from your Goblin Horde. You know, just.
It doesn't matter if you went to the Dollar Tree, because you can go to the Dollar Tree and buy a full poly set for $1 now. It is a thing. Yes.
That's amazing.
I saw Anthony's face. And I'm like, I know, right?
That's amazing.
I have a set. I bought it from the Dollar Tree. You can buy a Dollar Tree set of dice for $1. It doesn't matter if it's at $1 dice. I don't care if you went on Wish and bought 10 sets for $2. And then you give them out as your players come in. Like, I don't care how cheap it is.
$8 shipping.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went to Amazon and bought like a bulk order for, I don't know, it was like $20, and it was like hundreds and hundreds of dice. And I went and bought a bottle of Crown Royal for the bag. I mean, we also drank it, but I mean, it is kind of, it's a trope of being a dungeon master or just a dice goblin to have a bag of dice in a Crown Royal bag. And yeah, I just filled that thing, didn't have enough room. Now I'm halfway down because I just give my players dice. Actually, whenever I met my wife and I knew that I was gonna wife her up and put a baby in her, that was one of the first things that we did, you know, flirtatious kind of date night was I was like, pick out a set of dice. I was like, I don't have a lot going for me. I'm a giant nerd. Here, take some really pretty rocks. Do you like jewelry? This is kind of the same thing.
Well,
and here's my other advice to the new dungeon masters out there. You find that woman who takes your set of dice and loves it, you put a ring on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking right now about producing a whole show based on Heroes Feast, which is the Dungeons and Dragons cookbook, and she is making a whole character. This woman doesn't really play, like, she's played Dungeons and Dragons once on Discord with her friend for her friend's birthday, and she wants to make a whole character that's tiefling and cute, and I'm buying her an animatronic tail because for one, she loves cooking, for two, she loves being pretty and cute, but for three, she loves that I have a passion for something. So yes, absolutely, wife up or husband up or them DM up. I don't know what the non-binary term partner up
Spouse them
would
up.
be.
There you go. Spouse them up. There's a good one. I got to give my wife a amethyst D20 in a necklace for our anniversary. I mean, so yeah.
There are semi-precious stone dice out there, so you know if you wanted to get special with your lady or your man or your them, then yeah.
So yeah, my wife got me a gemstone dice for my birthday, and on the 20 it says yeet, and on the 1 it says fuck, because she knows me so well. And I guess I probably should have asked before we started recording if cussing was okay. I just realized it just now.
Sure. I have it marked as explicit, so you're fine.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic! Yeah. Yeah.
And I was a sailor, so like when it comes to cursing, like it doesn't get much more raunchy than that.
I was in the army, so like yeah, absolutely. The military profanity is creative to say the least.
Yeah. 100%.
I've known people in the military.
All right, so we've got our session 0. We have set expectations. We have created characters. We decided how we're going to do our ability scores. We've given everybody dice like we're Oprah. You get a set of dice, and you get a set of dice, and you get a set of dice.
Everybody look under their seat.
Oh, I'm so going to do that now. The next time I have a brand new set of players, before they even show up, I'm going to put dice. I'm going to tape it underneath the seat. And I'm going to go, everybody look under your seats.
You know, you go to your local game store and be like, look, I'm going to teach new players, you know, put the word out and then buy dice from them, get their dice packs and tape it up underneath the seat. And then you can do that. It's perfect. You'll have people signing up to play all the time after that. I guarantee it.
I mean, yeah, like if the advertisement says you might get free dice, you will absolutely have players
Oh, yeah.
no matter what.
There'll be old players pretending to be new players just to get the
Yeah.
new set of dice. I know I
Oh.
would. I've never played
Speaking-
before.
Speaking of old
Mustache, really
players,
terrible mustache. Yeah. With
Speaking
like
of old
no,
players-
the one that had the glasses and the fake nose and the mustache. Yeah. I love this. Sorry, go ahead.
So speaking of old players, there was something I wanted to bring up that I forgot to when we were talking about when you were picking your adventure. So I still think you should start with like the Lost Mines of Phandelver or like one of those starter adventures. But like when you're going into, if you, let's say you decide you want to run a campaign book, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition has taken a lot of classic adventures and turned them into really awesome, much better written campaigns that they were. Because let's be honest, Tomb of Horrors is unplayable in its original.
Well, just do a toss out to XP to level 3. I know I've been talking about them a lot lately, but I'm just recently found them. They they did a whole thing on the Tomb of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
Just one. He did one whole episode of tearing it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious. And then he did one whole episode of fixing it. And he actually put a lot of good thought into fixing this. I mean, that module is unplayable as far as I'm concerned.
100%.
I've never actually played it or ran it for that matter. I mean, the thing is everybody has resurrection sickness or whatever, and you can't be resurrected. And if you have been resurrected, you died, right? Spoilers. Oops. The pretense has been out since the fucking 80s. It's fine. But like, in the pretense is to like just have like 3 backup characters, right? It's a grind. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, like Tomb of Horrors literally is like you walk into a room, but you did it with your left foot instead of a right foot, so now you're dead. Like it's that bad.
Well, there's this feedback that he had is it was a thing where like it took away from that, because I think that's kind of, if you come into that game and that's taken away, I feel like that's kind of taking away from the narrative. Just the XP to level 3 thing that I haven't heard that guy. I've heard the name, but I haven't actually consumed content from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that what he does? He takes that away, or is he?
No, there are things that some of the things in there that are supposed to be puzzles with hints. The hints are terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, they just don't tell you anything.
So he'll add to the hints.
Got you.
He'll add to. So it's not necessarily. There are some things he changes, but it's mainly in that he's adding to it.
If you read the original module, it's difficult to figure out what you're supposed to do if you're reading it, like as the dungeon master. Like it's difficult to figure out what the solution to the puzzle is supposed to be if you're the dungeon master, let alone the player trying to play it. But basically where I was going with this is if you've got a bunch of old school players who've been playing for a long time and they've played some of these old modules and you break out the new version on them, they're going to think they know what to expect, and it's going to be one of your best times as a dungeon master. You break out that Temple of Elemental Evil or the Tales from the Yawning Portal or Tomb of Annihilation, which is the good version of Tomb of Horrors.
I bring out Dragon Mountain. I need him to do this.
There's got to be some kind of 5e conversion.
There has to be. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm probably just going to fuck around and just do it. And just run it and just use the same stats or whatever and just hope that it converts well. And if it doesn't, oops, we've learned.
Found it for you.
Yep. Oh, did you already?
Maybe. I haven't. It's in a message thread.
Oh, Google. If only I knew how you worked.
So yeah, if you've got some of them old school players, definitely I would recommend leaning that way, because if you've got these old school players who think they know what they're doing and all of a sudden you break out a new twist on them in this adventure they think they know, it's going to be a whole lot of fun for everybody, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, the Strahd campaign for 5e, I had never played it before, but whenever I came into that game, I was told that they were doing it, the DM was kind of doing it backwards, but also doing their own thing. There was a whole like Swedish bard in there that everybody loved. That it was basically just a one of those hipster liberal arts majors, but like we loved him, and that was our mascot forever until that game ended. I think that taking a narrative and then putting your own spin and flavor onto it is kind of what makes just dungeon mastering like anybody can read a book, but can you tell a story? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it comes down to, it's like you can definitely read a book, but can you tell a story? But can you do both? It's like you tell the story while reading it from a book, but also making it your own story.
Mm-hmm.
It can be really complicated sometimes if you make it complicated.
Yeah.
Writing a story, like sitting down and writing a book specifically, let's say you're writing a novel, which, let's be honest, if you wanted to write down what happened in a D&D campaign, that would be a novel. Sitting down and writing a novel is one of the most solitary things you can do as a person. Playing a D&D campaign is the most social thing you can do as a person. They are two entirely different sets of skills. So, like, even if you can tell a story, collaborating on a story with your friends in order to get there together is your actual goal for being a dungeon master.
I can guarantee you we've all been in at least one game that we would love to have had someone turn into a novel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just recorded that whole thing and had someone just be like, okay, now adapt this to a novel, please.
Yeah. Good luck. Let me know if you need anything. Here's my notes.
Question mark?
It's a whole bunch of like 3-word sentences and drawings of terrible penises. Good luck.
Right.
I will say that as a DM who has DM'd for most of his TTRPG career, don't make things too complicated. In fact, those puzzles, just look up like 2nd or 3rd grade if they're smart. I'm on a whole bunch of Facebook groups for like D&D and things, and people are always asking, how do I make this like super engaging and everything? Like one guy was saying, it's supposed to be super like the walls are turning to blood, and like if they don't get out of the hole fast enough, they're gonna drown. And I'm like, literally just write blood backwards on the wall, and if they say blood, they get past. Like that will take them an hour. And you can sit there and drink and just like my players literally made a trap for themselves, a puzzle for themselves of how to cross a stream. The stream was shin high and barely moving, but they sat there for an hour and a half trying to figure out how to cross this murky stream. But I think it was just because they couldn't see the bottom is how it was like, oh, we need to figure this out. This is a puzzle. No, it's not.
Yep.
There are 2 puzzles that I use a lot of times at the beginning of campaigns because I want to show my players not to overthink this stuff. One of them is just a door, and that door does not have a handle. It doesn't have anything to open it normally, and the door just has printed on it, be polite. And the answer to that puzzle is just to say, please. If you say, please open, or can you open, please, or something like that, then the door swings open. And that's it.
I would have knocked on the door and been like, well, I don't know what to do now.
See, now for me, that would open that door. Like that's a polite knock, that'll open that door. Anything where it considered you politely approach that door. I've had rogues attempt to pick a lock that's not there. I've had barbarians attempt to charge it down. I've had wizards attempt to burn it down with fireballs, and none of it works. And then when they finally figure out how to open it, they're like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, yeah, just stop trying to overthink it so hard. And then
got a bunch of tone.
I mean, I really just want to make a puzzle where it's like, it's a push door, but there's handles to pull on it, and just let them try to figure it out.
You're fucking evil.
I know. Maniacal.
The other puzzle I use a lot to try to get my players to stop overthinking, I got from the YouTuber Z Bashu.
Oh, this man. Oh, I love his stuff. I am using his zombie rules in a game. Watch me.
And basically, the way the puzzle works is you enter a room, all the doors slam shut, and in the middle of the room there's a button. The first time you press the button, there's a great big countdown that starts counting down from 12. So it's 12, 11, 10. And like it starts with the numbers are flashing green, then they're flashing orange, then they're flashing red. And as it gets closer to that countdown, like you make everything seem really dire. Like all of a sudden the room's filled with magical darkness. You can't see anything else but the numbers. You hear something from the other side of the door. You just make it seem like a really dire situation as that countdown counts down. If the players press the button again, the countdown resets.
Oh my God! Please,
this an elevator?
No, serious?
Yeah, that's all that. Well, all that happens is if they let the countdown reach the end, the doors open,
I knew
and that's it.
Oh, that's evil.
Oh,
All
see,
they have
I
to
took it a step
do-
further, and I thought it was like an elevator going down, and like this is the floor that it's on.
That's a good one. That's a good interpretation. I love that. But yeah, basically all it is like anytime they press that button, and like the players will press that button, you start describing that countdown as a dire situation about how 5, the numbers start blinking red. 4, all the lights go out in the room, all the torches have extinguished. They're gonna slam that button time and time again and restart that countdown.
And you know what's going to happen is in between, they're going to hit it again, and they're going to realize it restarted. They're like, okay, we have 15 seconds to overthink this. Let's figure out what we're going to do.
That's 100% time. And when you finally
have an hourglass, you throw that on the table, butthole pucker. Oh, and the whole table, like they can suction cup their seats.
And I love the number one reason I love this puzzle, just like the other doors, by the time they figure it out, by the time it gets to the end, it sets a tone and they stop overthinking so much. They like, we have overthought this to death. All we had to do was wait for it to reach 0. And the rest of the dungeon, they stop trying so hard. And it gets a whole lot more fun from that point on.
That's awesome.
So I've talked about this with Baron before. Baron is very much like, very narrative driven and like everybody's having fun. He's kind of like the warm dad DM from what I understand. He's never DM'd for me before, but what kind of DM are you?
I think of myself as an amalgamation DM. I am a amalgamation of the DMs of my past. I got a lot from Baron. He was one of my first dungeon masters, arguably my first. And the other thing is, like I said, I've never made my own world or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I've come to rely on what's written in the books a lot when it comes to the campaigns and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I have become good at taking those books and spinning them into my own thing. And because I am the forever DM, and just the way life has worked out for me, almost every time I start a campaign, it's with a group of people who've never played before. So I've also become really good at teaching people how to play through my DMing style.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like on the same aspect. Like I didn't have a ton of DMs or GMs rather. My first tabletop game was Mage the Ascension, which was fantastic because it allowed me. That was my first game, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Was that good or bad?
That's
it's rough.
That is. That's.
I loved it because here's the thing: is like I was dealing with a lot of shit, and like I played basically myself as a veteran, not myself. I played somebody else as a veteran who had a lot of overlap, and I worked through some stuff that I didn't even know I was working through. But then I went to another one,
White Wolf is good for that.
White Wolf?
Yeah. White Wolf is the system that you were using for Mage Ascension. Yeah.
And then, we went to 3rd edition, 3rd or 3.5, I don't remember. And it was 3.5, just kidding. And I played Hank, who is my favorite character will ever play, and he's an NPC in every single one of my games. He's a lovable, dumb idiot, half-orc barbarian. And that's kind of whenever I started to love the silly aspect of tabletop games, of just being able to just relieve any shame that you may have and be just have fun. It is a game. But like I very quickly learned both aspects of these games and also kind of how I wanted to DM, being I want to give my players the voice of, you can do whatever you want here as long as it's respectful. Work through your shit, or don't, or just be a drunk idiot. Like, that's fine. We're playing a game, but you know, there is a lot of therapeutic positivity that comes from this as well. Let me help you do that.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I don't think I've had the pleasure of running for somebody that has been working through their shit and has been using role playing to do so. But I mean, I would absolutely welcome that.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
tons of therapeutic things that you can get from. I mean, I've seen actually, man, I'm going to need to find this article now, but I've seen therapists using D&D to help like troubled teens and stuff. It's like that's beautiful. It's great. You see inmates playing, and they got a couple things to work through. And yeah, and just to see them being able to come together and play and doing what they need to do to play this game, it's great. I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my players, they suffer from mental disability, and this helps them kind of work through that day-to-day thing. And it's super amazing seeing them kind of use my narrative, and like, well, it's a shared narrative, but like, use our narrative to help just really make it through the week, like week over week. It's really awesome. But on the other end of that, also, fuck them players, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, you guys are low on health. Hey, guess what? Here's a death tyrant.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're for.
Yep. I will say, as long as we're still talking about how to DM, one thing I have learned as a dungeon master is that the edge of the knife is where all the fun is. If we're talking about combat and stuff like that,
absolutely.
If you hand them an encounter that they can run through easily, there is fun to be had there through just like mowing down enemies, but the encounter that they barely get out of alive is the one they'll be talking about for months or years.
Yeah, the one they scraped by the skin of their teeth. That's yeah.
Not the most recent one, but the one a couple of sessions beforehand. Like I said earlier, my players have a ton of magical items, so I threw some some fodder, some pawns at them, but also 3 of those, like they're the chuls or cools, I don't know, but they're the mind flayer version, and they have like an anti-magic aura. Soon as they get into that range, which I think was like 10 feet, they lose all magical items essentially, and they have to kind of just use their base level skills. Lost a player character, but to be fair, she was kind of hoping to get her old character back, so it kind of worked out narratively. But yeah, like that took 2 sessions back to back from beginning of the first to the end of the second to get them through that encounter. And I can't wait until we're back playing in person and speaking about, that session amongst other sessions that we had here. And also on that note, like one of my favorite things as a dungeon master is talking about sessions that we've had before, but not in the aspect of, hey, remember whenever our characters did this, but more of, hey, remember when we did this? Like, remember whenever I jumped from the crow's nest of our ship, the taint of the sea, that is actually the fucking what they named that damn ship, and onto the dragon's back and flew it into the water. Like, it's like they have, like, if nobody knew what they were talking about, what we were talking about, they think we were crazy, and they would probably have had people think we were crazy. But like that whole thing is where if you can immerse yourself into the game, or your players are immersing themselves where they're saying, remember when we did this, or when I did this, or when you did this, that is success. That is a successful DM.
That is 100% success as a dungeon master. The moment they go from my character to I did this to I did this, that's a good feeling as a dungeon master.
Yeah.
Another thing you're gonna have to do if you're having an ongoing campaign is session recap. So
terrible at that.
So here's I am too. So here's what I did. I always in session 0 talk to one of my players and find out who wants to take notes. Like, who's the person who wants to write everything down? Because you'll have somebody who does. You'll have somebody who wants to chronicle everything. And I have them write everything down. And then at the beginning of the next session, I give them a few minutes to recap the previous session. And let me tell you what this does for you as a dungeon master. Because if you're recapping the sessions, the way you saw things went down and the way your players saw things went down are two entirely different things.
Yeah.
And letting your player tell you what happened last week or the last time you played gives you the opportunity to tweak how things are going from that point forward.
Yep. Yeah, I've started doing nose goes on recap and allowing them to do that, or really just forcing whoever didn't touch their nose quick enough to recap. Because not only is like, yes, absolutely. I mean, I can sit there and explain this, but I mean, it's also really good to make sure that people are paying attention. Because again, we're a whole bunch of drunk idiots that like to play tabletop games on Saturdays. So if I can get somebody else to do that, I'm like, oh, hey, that's actually that way sounds a lot better than how I told it when they weren't paying attention. I'm gonna go with that. Eventually, ideally, I would like to record our sessions, but out of respect for them, I don't because some of them aren't comfortable with having some of the shit that we say on the internet, which, understandably speaking,
It'd be kind of cool to like do that recap like that and just be like, okay, if you're going to do the recap, I will give you the privilege of rewriting one small piece.
Oh, that's good.
So like, if something happened kind of, weird or something like that, you come into this one and they do the recap and they're like, oh, and yeah, and so didn't fumble, they did this, or maybe just they have one chance to rewrite one little thing to make it more epic.
I wish I had time, because I would love to like pre-record like epic dramatic recaps, because I have technology. We can recap better, faster, stronger. But unfortunately, corporate shell.
Right.
Put on your Dragon Ball Z announcer voice and be last time on Dungeons and Dragons.
I spent too much time as a strip club DJ in San Antonio to not let this voice go to waste. So, like, and I also have this voice modulator here where I can just do. Hold on.
Tonight on Dungeons and Dragons.
I mean, shit. I mean, you can say whatever you want at that point. I'm sold.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of fun ones I have on
here. Yeah, look, that's what you do from now on. When you get going on your thing, you don't run it, you don't play it, you just do the recaps. That's it.
Yeah. I let them just do whatever they want, and then I just narrate what they're doing as the disembodied narrator voice. All right, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and roll this. I mean, I guess that's what a DM is, just a disembodied narrator voice.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute. How awesome would that be, though? Just to have someone narrating the game.
All right, hold on. All right, so real quick, run me through a scene, Baron. What is your player doing?
All right, well, they are they're walking into a cavern. There's you got your stalagmites and your stalactites, which way that M goes.
Yeah, I actually learned that from D&D.
That's right. And you see across this massive cavern a dragon sleeping on a hoard of gold, and you know that right behind that dragon is the doorway out.
All right, so you roll for this thing. What do you do? Like sneaking by, right?
So it's up to the player at this point. It's like, are you going to sneak on by and just get out the door? Are you going to try to grab some gold? I don't know. They're thinking about it. They're at the edge of that gold right now, thinking, what do I do?
You're gonna pay for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
I really actually do want that. There's totally off topic, but I've always wanted to be the Monster Truck Rally voice announcer.
Oh, Sunday. Oh yeah.
Bring your kids, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend, not at the same time.
You need to be the sassy narrator voice too. That when the player goes, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. He doesn't. This is totally gonna work. It won't.
Shit. Damn it. No.
That's what you need to do. You need to start selling yourself out as a D&D narrator.
You're right. I should.
Dungeons and Dragons bard. That's an official bard.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or my favorite, I have a whole bunch of soundboards for like misses, or you're taking too long on your turn, or you started combat. But one of my favorite things whenever they royally fuck up is
Nice.
All right, you know what? I'm going to tie this back in. If you're going to be a dungeon master,
hold on. Before you tie back in, hold on. A bard college of narration.
I think there's a third party.
Like a high level ability is being able to break the fourth wall.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I like that.
So if you're gonna be a DM, have fun with it. Like download your soundboards, get yourself some miniatures. If your players are gonna find a box next session, build the box and let them find some stuff in it. Like give them something, create handouts. The moment DMing feels like work to you, you need to reevaluate, turn around, and realize that you are playing a game, just like all these guys are playing a game, and you should be having fun. Like you just heard us geek out about this soundboard and this narrator voice for the past however many minutes. These are the kind of things, find your thing that makes you do that makes you geek out like that, and implement that into your game.
Now, in the same note, if you're running a game and you have one of your players say, "Well, the other guy did handouts," don't let people give you that shit.
Yeah.
Do the thing that's fun for you.
For your players, what is your geeky thing?
Huh? I don't know.
Like like most DMs have like a shtick, right? Like they have their thing. Like pre-pandemic, the Dungeon Disco Daddy had a shtick, and then post-pandemic, it's the soundboards and the stupid meme sounds and whatever. Pre-pandemic, I built terrain out of like XPS foam, and like it was hyper detailed. Like I don't know if listeners can't see, but behind me there is a shelf, and I built dioramas, like hyper realistic dioramas for my miniatures that I painted. I had a problem. my garage, I just built a whole workstation for doing this again, and also to get some of the stuff out of my office. But yeah, like hyper realistic XPS foam, I learned how to do it from YouTube. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars over the past few years on not only learning but also making this stuff and airbrush stuff. And like I like to give a production to my games because I am not a great storyteller, so I can make up for that with a little bit of aesthetic.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that I necessarily have a shtick. My players may argue otherwise, but I can't think of anything that I do that's odd or unique or.
That's because your shtick isn't gimmicky. Your shtick is that like you take your characters and players' ideas and turn them into the world. Like that is your thing. Like you don't come with a world, you come with a basic idea, and then you go to your players and you go, what do you want the gods to be? What do you want the world to be? What do you want to exist here? And then it does. And not every DM does that.
Baron, are you the soft dungeon dom?
I am the soft dungeon dom, yes. Well, I mean, fuck, I really am. I'm the dude that throws two ghosts at his party, realizes they're too tough, and nerfs them mid-fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am the soft dungeon dom. I may have to start changing up my my handles.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, You have a great handle. That is amazing. Like that name is just Dungeon Dom just really exhibits who you are as a person.
Yeah.
The next time we have a D&D episode, that's how you introduce yourself. I am Baron Kane, Guildmaster, and Soft Dungeon Dom.
Yeah, that'll work.
I like to make props, and this is going to be lost on the listeners because I'm showing this on camera, but I'll try to describe it the best I can.
Yeah, I'm already doing the same thing. I'm terrible.
But I made this box for my players. This box on the outside has 3 different locks, and each one of these locks is opened by a different key and opens one compartment of this box. I've painted it with a textured spray paint to make it look like stone. So when I hand it to my players, I'm like, you find this stone box. And then throughout the campaign, like I literally let my players take this home. And I put different things in different components of the box. And then throughout the campaign, they might find a key, or one of the locks is a combination lock. So they'd find clues to this combination. So throughout the campaign, I'd be like, you'd find a key, and I'd literally hand them a key, and they'd get super excited. They'd be like, oh my God, it's for the box. And then they'd get to pull the box out, and they'd open another lock on the box. And so like it opens in all these different ways with all these different compartments. And I'll cut this down a little bit. That way it's not me pulling out a key for 5 minutes or whatever.
That's part of the puzzle. How do I get this key out of the cellophane?
So like it starts with this great big padlock that looks like it came off a pirate's treasure chest. I got that off of Amazon. And I got door hinges from Home Depot and door latches and painted them with textured spray paint to make them look rusty and old. And then they would open the first compartment. And it opens kind of like a book, and then the first compartment folds out, and it looks like precious stones. And they found a little figurine inside, and what they found out was if they threw this figurine on the ground, it would turn into a construct, and it would help them fight.
It's like one of the Stones of Wondrous Power kind of things.
Exactly. Except I made I had Baron help with me on this. We wrote a little stat block for a cloth golem, and it's like a giant teddy bear, and it would hug enemies and smother them to death.
That's awesome. I love it.
And I wrote a little note and I made it look all aged and handed it to my players, and it kind of told them what the figurine did, and there's a little PS on the back that told them kind of how to activate it and stuff like that. And then later on, they found the keys to open these little side compartments where one of them had a scroll with the spell to imprison, like the scroll of imprisonment. And I actually gave them a little scroll with a little leather bind around it. And I also gave them the gem in here that they could use to imprison something in that gem.
Oh, I love it.
And then the other side had this little box, another little box inside. And when they opened this box, there was this little wooden puzzle that they had to put together. And what I didn't tell them was that wooden puzzle was actually the pieces to 2 wooden puzzles. So they had to figure out not only that they had to put together a wooden puzzle, but it was actually 2 wooden puzzles. So like they had to figure out they were pieces to 2 different ones. And when they put them together, they functioned as sending stones.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I used to, I would do letters and such like that whenever we were still doing in-person games. And I mean, of course, I'm doing it again. But
Right.
now, I mean, I was working in an office that I had access to their very, very expensive printers, and I made notes. I have a 2-inch ring binder for Out of the Abyss that I made notes of, and like it's full. It's like the whole binder of notes is this big that I absolutely printed out on company resources. Hashtag Eat the Rich and all that. I don't care. And I would absolutely print out these things at work and then bring them home and then make tea and make these like really ancient looking, or not ancient, but old looking parchment papers, and then burn off the edges and give them to them. And like that was always a great thing. Always really like if you can do something to better engage your players other than just living in a story, like if that's all you can do, that's like, great. I mean, for you, like that's awesome. That's you're doing the goodness. You're doing the needful. You're a dungeon master. Congratulations. But if you can do more, if you have the time and the resources to do more, absolutely do it. The that look on your face of your players' faces of like, oh shit, this is something I can hold. It's not just something in my imagination. Like this is real. Like that is a great feeling.
Mm-hmm.
A wow effect is what I go for.
If you can't afford to do that, you don't have the time to do that. Another way you can do that pretty much free in the, I believe it's either the DMG or the player's handbook. So the Dungeon Master Guide or the player's handbook. There's a trinket table where you can roll a D100 and it gives a random trinket. And something I did for a really long time was pretty much anytime they found loot somewhere, or like at the end of a dungeon, I would roll on that trinket table. Or I'd actually, no, I let them roll on the trinket table. So I would be like, hey, one of you guys roll a D100 for me. And they'd always get really excited after the first couple times because they're like, oh, it's a trinket. And then I would write down in my own notes what they got. And before the next session, I would try to figure out what I could do with that trinket. Like it would also challenge me as a dungeon master. So one time they got, I believe it was a hand floating in liquid. I think it's on the trinket table.
Didn't say Vecna on it, did it?
No, it's just a random hand. So like what I did with it was, what they decided to do with it is they were in a inn or a hunting lodge of one of the big bad evil guy's lieutenants, and they found the cook cooking like in a great big pot of soup, and they decided to dump the hand in the soup. What they didn't know was I had already decided that the first time they dumped out the hand that it was going to turn into a flesh golem.
Oh, nice.
So all of a sudden they dumped out this hand and the flesh golem erupted out of this pot and looked at the person who had been carrying the hand the whole time and went, "Daddy?"
Oh no. Oh no.
And so they hurried and they saved the flesh golem, this Frankenstein monster, and it became one of the most beloved NPCs of that campaign. They called him Frankie. I gave him a weird voice and a bunch of mannerism. And so like you can do all kinds of stuff with that with the trinket table.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any, like, I mean, that sounds like a tradition, but do you have any other traditions for like game over game, anything that you do?
All of my games take place in my version of the Forgotten Realms. Mm-hmm. So every time we finish a campaign or a character dies, I ask the player if I can keep their character sheet. Nice. If they want to keep their character sheet, then I make a copy of it or whatever. But they will run into their old characters.
Nice.
Because it takes place in the same world.
Yeah. Once my players make it to level 20, because that is like, we started at level 1. I'm taking them to level 20. That is, they are at level 17 now. They are so close. But I mean, they're absolutely going to hear stories of the sea wolves and the tales of debauchery and heroic tales of these adventurers. But mine's not nearly as wholesome as that. Mine's at the very beginning of every session. If they want to, they can roll for endowment, which is they roll a d20 and they find out how well endowed they are, and or whatever the equipment is that they say that they want. Like if they want big juicy cakes, they can roll for big juicy cakes, and it just sets the tone of silliness or whatever you want.
Sure.
It really came from what is it, Key and Peele, whenever they're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
16 titties, like that just spiraled into roll for endowment.
That's fine.
Those inside joke traditions are my favorite.
I will. I have certain NPCs that I work into almost every game that I run, and a lot of the times I will work people I know into the game. I actually worked myself, my daughter, and apparently my husband into a game one time, and I don't think people got it at first, but I mean, you guys ended up figuring that out, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then the unofficial thing that I do pretty frequently, it didn't happen in the last game. Oh, no, it did. Never mind. I will accidentally make a beloved NPC. Like, I will make an NPC that isn't necessarily supposed to be that big of a deal, but turns into something that everyone in the party will die for.
I have the adverse effect of that. I want this to be a beloved NPC, and they hate it. Absolutely hate it. Oh my god, they're like, you know what? We're going to kill this thing. We're going to push it down a well or whatever it is. I'm like, why? Like, what is wrong with you people? Like, fine. I mean, that's absolutely what happens. Sure, you pushed Timmy down the well. Good job, old Yeller. But like, I mean, I guess it really ties back into like, don't set any expectations.
Yeah, huh?
If you're as long as we're talking to new DMs, your players will do this to NPCs. I can guarantee your players will find an NPC, whether it's an NPC you created or an NPC that's in the book, and they will adopt them, and that NPC will become their favorite person ever. If you take my advice and you buy the Lost Mines of Phandelver or start running the Lost Mines of Phandelver, when I was running my players through that, you will run into an NPC, and his name is Carp, and he's just a little halfling child who lives in Phandelver, and they would go back to Phandelver on a regular basis just to see what Carp was up to and make sure that he was doing okay. So when you run that adventure and you run into Carp, you can get a little insight into my version of that campaign. My PCs adopted that character immediately.
That's funny.
Yeah. I guess on the other side of that is have your players purchased a house, heir, or tavern, or business, or mansion, and why is it named something stupid? My player's mansion or estate is called Butt Whistle Manor, named after beloved changeling, one of the personas of our changeling, Timmy Buttwhistle, or something along those lines. The gnome. It's ridiculousness. What is your tavern, your players' taverns, and or businesses?
I always want my players to do stuff like that. I want them to get bases of operations. I want them to have hideouts and beloved taverns that they go back to all the time. But I have not, through the years, been able to get my players to do any of that stuff. Like, I forced it one game. I forced it. Like, I was like, okay, you find like this village that's been run down and they really need help. And they're like, whatever. Like,
on to the next one. How far till Neverwinter?
Right.
I will run you Acquisitions Incorporated. I've been wanting to do it anyways, and that's basically corporate D&D.
Nice.
When I first started playing, I was playing 4th edition, and I played a gnome warlock named Nemorian Pak. I actually brought him onto one of your Twitch streams. When you were creating shops, I told you about Nemorian's shop. Okay. And you added it into one of your little cities.
Which one?
I don't remember.
It wasn't the pirate one, was it?
No, it was not.
Okay, good, because that one was that one was the best.
So it started out in that campaign. Me and a friend were both DMing that campaign, where like I would DM, basically we had a bunch of modules that ran back to back to back to make a greater campaign for 4th edition. And I would run a module, then he would run a module, and I would run a module, and he would run a module. And the way we got away with this was the first module we ran had a spot where your players could choose what guild they wanted to be a part of, and they would get to enter that guild hall and be a part of that guild. And so we were like, we're going to start here, and when our players choose a guild, we'll just be members of that guild. Our player characters will be members of that guild. And sometimes they go out with this guild member, and sometimes they go out with this guild member, and that's how we'll keep switching back and forth.
Nice. It's very much like Elder Scrolls, where like, are you going to be in the Mages Guild or the Fighters Guild?
Yeah. So our players looked at the options of the guild and said, fuck that, I don't like any of those. And they looked over at my character and went, Nemorian, you had a shop in a past life. Aren't you independently wealthy? Can you start a guild for us? And so I was like, screw it. What do you want it to be called? And they were like, the Thundering Fist. And I was like, all right, the Thundering Fist Guild is open for business. And that turned into that being a guild that exists in Neverwinter, that every single campaign, they end up joining that guild. They end up meeting Nemorian Pak and other adventurers who joined that adventurers guild. And eventually Nemorian became a demigod.
Nice.
Because of how long he existed. So that's something that's been going on. The Thundering Fist Guild Hall has been something that not only existed in one of my players' campaigns, but has gone on from campaign to campaign to campaign.
I mean, you keep saying that you don't have your own world, but you absolutely do. Like, it might be set in the Forgotten Realms. A lot of the foundation is done. A lot of the the heavy lifting is done, but you absolutely have your own homebrew world based on the evolution from your first DMing game to where you're at now. Most of my stuff will forever live. I've spent $50 on it was like 5 by 3 foot long map of my world that is literally Faerun, Exandria, my homebrew world, and some other elements that I kind of picked up from like little things. Absolutely, there's so many the theft power is there, but it's still like my world. It's still like things that I used and took elements from. I mean, there's no such thing as an original idea anymore. It's
Right.
2021 at the time of this recording. You are absolutely not going to find something that isn't already done, probably hundreds of years ago already in one way or another.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I was kind of having that same thought that you were just having. It's like he was saying that he doesn't have his own world, but he does have his own world, and much like the MCU is a different world than the Marvel Comics world.
I mean, even like the
built differently.
The Marvel world is different than the world we live in. New York's still a thing. Chicago's still a thing. Massachusetts is still a thing. Like, there's still the thing. The heavy lifting is done. But guess what? Now they're superheroes also.
Yeah, no, legit.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that. Like, I definitely have no arguments there. Like, me and my players have definitely turned the Forgotten Realms into our own place.
I guess in summary, steal everything that you can starting out. The world is yours.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to do the same thing to the Dragonlance world. Just start off a campaign in the Dragonlance world and just make it my own. Just
you need to
companions did.
You need to do one of two things: either never mention that to my wife, or mention it to my wife, and she will forever be a player in that world. She has read all of the Dragonlance books. We have all the Dragonlance books, at least one copy of each one. Most of them are duplicates, just for the aesthetic appeal. She lives and breathes Dragonlance, and whenever we got that Heroes Feast book, the cookbook, and she saw that there was Hero Feast recipes, she started crying.
Oh, no. You cannot imagine how emotional I got when I saw Otik spiced potatoes.
Nice.
Super emotional.
I got like 100 pages into the book and haven't really read it since, and it's not necessarily saying it's bad. I just don't have the attention span. I'm a severely attention deficit, and I just can't read. Like, I can read, I just can't read.
God, oh no, I get it. Totally get it.
So yeah, 100% steal. Look, you take any movie you want. It doesn't even have to be a good movie. All right, I'm going to throw something at you guys, and you tell me what movie I stole this campaign from. Okay?
Yeah, I like this.
So I'm going to tell my characters to go ahead and make level 7 characters at the start of the campaign. These characters have been around. They have a reputation. They're pretty strong already. Okay?
Okay.
After they've created the characters, I'm going to have them tell me why that character has been condemned to death. Okay, they have been captured by the king and been condemned to death. Okay, and they're going to tell me why. And that's going to help them build their character story. Then one of the king's guard is going to come to them in their cell, and they're going to tell them they've been summoned by the king.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. Just kidding.
The king then tells them that there's a mission, and this mission is too dangerous for any of his men. And if they take on this task and complete this task, they can earn their freedom.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously going to go Suicide Squad right off the top.
It's Suicide Squad.
Okay, yeah, I was good. Like that absolutely totally works.
It seemed too obvious, didn't it? It was like, this is too obvious.
Like literally any Elder Scrolls game is you are imprisoned. Here's how you can get out.
Right.
It's kind of their shtick. It's their tradition is you're a prisoner. Now you're not. Go be a hero. But yeah, no, absolutely. That's totally Suicide Squad. I super like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of taking really terrible movies. Not to say Suicide Squad is a terrible movie. It's not my favorite, but like it's not terrible. It's not like vilified as much as, well, that's a pun. Didn't mean to.
It's not great, but it's not terrible. How about that?
Yeah, it's not like, what's that? Never mind. Doesn't matter. Derailing. I love taking terrible movies. I mean, I just love terrible movies and making them amazing narrative plot points.
Yeah.
My favorite movie ever, just to give some additional context to that statement, is my favorite movie is anything with Bruce Campbell. My son is named after Ash Williams. His name is Asher. My wife wouldn't let me name him Ashley, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, like terrible movies make great narrative points for a dungeon master because you can't tell a story like Tolkien did. You can't tell a story like any like George Lucas or who's the new Star Wars director that for Mandalorian? I can't remember. Favreau.
Favreau. And Filoni's probably the big. But anyways, yeah, I know what you're saying.
They're both doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't like unless you are already there, you can't tell that story. I mean, and if you can, congratulations, fantastic. You're doing better than most of other DMs. But take a silly narrative. Once you start telling that narrative in whatever setting and like, just kind of flavor it to whatever setting you are, nobody's going to really notice. And they're going to say, shit, that's really cool. Like, why didn't we think like this is amazing? Like we have a really awesome DM. Steal everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting paid for this. You're not profiting off of somebody else's work. You are letting other people live in this work. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you are profiting off of it, if you're making content for the internet, like you just have to change some things. Don't do like, Treasure Island with Billy Bones and so is it Jimmy Hawkins or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Just change their names, and it can be stupid too. Like it can be William Boned and I don't know, just change the first continent.
Tim Falcon.
Yeah, exactly. Like
not only that, it's like most of the shit that you're gonna steal, they're called tropes.
Yes, exactly.
Tropes. Like you brought up the Suicide Squad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony straight up said that's also what they do for every single Elder Scrolls game. It's a trope. You are a prisoner who was working to not be killed.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That's a trope. You are stealing tropes, and everybody has done tropes since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally planning 2 one-shots. One of them is based on an Among Us style 5th edition game, murder mystery, also kind of Clue. But the other one is literally Treasure Island, but with 5e stuff in there. Literally, like I'm not even trying. Like it's Billy Bones. Like you meet Billy Bones. He's a turtle, but he's not like the 18th or 17th century guy that died in your mom's tavern. But just take the thing. I think, especially if it's just you and your friends, do the thing. They'll love playing in this thing that they know.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah,
if the Muppets can do it, you can do it too.
As a little side thing, as I'm waiting for my main group to get going, I'm running a D&D game that is based off of Hades, the video game. Why? Because that's fucking awesome. They're playing. Okay, the game itself is you are playing a character who's in the underworld and trying to get out, but you have to fight through different dungeons to get out. But you'll die, and when you die, you go back to the beginning.
Oh, cool.
But you come back with all that experience and stuff that you gain, so you're stronger. So you go back through and wipe through these dungeons until you can't anymore, and then you go back, but you're stronger again. So that's what I'm doing in this D&D game. They're fighting their way through the underworld. They go up so high, they die, and then they come back.
So just to kind of feed on that is one thing that I've been wanting to do. Originally, my players are supposed to fight Asmodeus or Asmodeus. Doesn't matter. Same thing from before. Callback. And they were supposed to fight him, and they're supposed to kill him, and then there was going to be like a great power struggle, power vacuum in the Nine Hells. And my in between campaigns of level 20 kill God, basically. Here's a silly campaign is everybody plays as devils, and they were basically furloughed from hell, and now they have to rework their resume by doing terrible deeds on the material plane. Every time that they do a terrible deed, it ends up doing well. Like, oh, hey, you just murdered an entire village. Thanks. Because they were all cultists about to blood sacrifice. Oh, hey, you guys just sacrificed the holy person in that town. Good job. We found some really incriminating stuff that he was doing to the other people. There was I had a whole thing, and now granted they're not fighting Asmodeus anymore. But it's absolutely there's great ways that you can feed from other things. That was something I thought whenever I wanted to do a Dante's Inferno style game, and it turned out into I'm building my resume as a devil, but I can't quite make anything land.
So essentially, I mean, we started talking about these are the things you want to do as a dungeon master, as far as do your session 0, figure out how you're going to do your ability scores, look through the player's handbook. There's other things where it says your DM will decide this, and go ahead and decide all those things. But once you get started, you can go in whatever direction you want. We can give you tips and tricks all day long, but you're going to develop your own style. You're going to find what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what works for your players, what doesn't work for your players. And until that point, steal.
Yeah.
You'll find something that works.
Yeah, steal until you let it evolve.
And you are going to fail. You are going to fail a lot. Get used to it. It's fine. Also, you're not going to make everybody happy. It's not going to.
Give yourself some credit. I think especially in our community that we have as nerds is imposter syndrome is very. I have it too. I consistently think that I'm not a great DM. And I do make all this effort, and my wife consistently and my players consistently tell me this is amazing, this is great, you're doing an amazing job. And I just this is weird. But you're seeing these great productions and whatnot, and you're putting yourself on a pedestal, or you're putting them on a pedestal. You don't have to do this as long as you're having fun.
Yeah.
You and your players are having fun, and you're enjoying yourself at every interval time that you guys play. You're a good DM. That's all.
Yeah, I have this thing, you bring up the imposter syndrome, but I'll have this thing that I'll have one player that seems kind of upset with a ruling that I've done, and I failed the whole group. Done. I failed the whole group. I don't know what to do from that point.
Same.
Yeah, so I get it. And you just, and having been in that position, you just can't let yourself be in that position. Don't let that get to you. I can tell you this without ever taking my own advice. So
that's the hardest part, is taking your own advice, because I know that you do it. I do it too. I give people advice all the time, and then I sit here and do the same shit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have one last question. Probably not, but I have one last question. What is the most terrible thing that you've done to your players as being a maniacal DM? What is the laughs and evil DM moment for you?
Can I go first? Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I had this. It's kind of messed up on two different levels. I had this monster set up specifically to attack my daughter in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mimic.
Oh, I love
it.
It
was just big enough for her character. It made sense for her character to get in to the mimic, because I made it a dumbwaiter, and I thought that a dumbwaiter mimic was actually pretty clever. But I figured a dumbwaiter, and she was, oh fuck, what was she? She was a gold. she was a kobold, and I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect. But she's also a barbarian, so she would take, the diminished damage and everything when she starts raging. She's probably going to live, but it's going to be scary. So it's perfect. So I had another player that was just like, no, I'll do it. And I'm like, are you sure? Because the kobold is perfect to get in this dumbwaiter. He's like, yeah, I got this. I'm like, okay. He squeezes in there, and as soon as he does, that lid shuts.
Oh my! I can just see your Spawn's face, just like, Dad.
I
did that
told
to me.
I was like, I did that specifically for you.
Look, I had the armor for it, okay?
Rick was totally the one that jumped into the mimic. It got hairy there for a second, though.
Yeah.
Because you have a hard time getting out of it.
Yeah. So, like, the whole reason I did it was because I had built my character to be an infiltration expert. And I was like, if we're going to get into a dumbwaiter and try to get down into a basement, like, yeah, that's all me. I did get lucky because I was playing a warlock and I had, like, the armor of Agathis. So, like, basically every time that mimic bit down on me, it took damage. So, like, it ended up working out at the end. But, yeah, that's a thing that happened.
My favorite thing is something that's actually evolving at the moment. So, if you are one of my players, please stop the podcast now until you find out what Sir Francis's second wish was. So, for context, Sir Francis is a product of the deck of many things. He's the knight, and he is just another NPC that they have brought along as one of their pets. My players love collecting NPCs, and I can't seem to kill them off fast enough. But they also treat their NPCs like garbage. And so Sir Francis Unicorn Skrillex is his name, and he's a changeling, a fighter. He had enough, and he was like, you know what? I came from this deck. Let me pull a card. And everybody's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then they're like, you know what? Actually, the effect happens to you. Sure, go ahead. And he pulled it. It's the moon. And if you know anything about the deck of many things, the moon is wish. He rolled. He has 3 wishes. He did first one to just basically kind of get a little petty revenge. The second one he did under his breath is if he dies or if a player character attacks him and kills him, his soul will swap with their most lovable NPC, and he becomes that NPC, and then he can use his final wish to go back to wherever he's from. And so that's just kind of like my little maniacal revenge to be like, you guys just unknowingly killed your favorite NPC. Go fuck yourself.
Wow.
And also, like, I made a drunken bet with them that if they can keep this lovable NPC alive for a year, real time, that I would give all of them a level. And as they're leveling up, I'm like, shit, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy off. But yeah, like that was like something like super. I don't know. It was something that I kind of came up with improv, and I was like, oh man, this is a good idea. I'm definitely gonna do this.
Awesome.
I can't wait for it to happen because he has power now. He has a wish. Well, they think he has 2 wishes above them. They're definitely, traditionally speaking, going to kill him off.
So, mine was also kind of an improv one. My players were on the way to a Unity temple in order to try to track down one of the dragon masks that were going to be used to summon Tiamat in order to stop it from happening. Mm-hmm. On the way to the temple, I was just kind of trying to flesh out the world a little bit, and I had them pass a herd of goats. One of the players picked up one of the goats, and they were like, I want a goat. And like I made him roll for it, and like he got himself a goat and threw it over his shoulder. And I'm like, what's your end game here? I was like, what's with the goat? And he's like, well, in case we have to sacrifice something in order to get the mask, or the Unity want to sacrifice, or like, I've got a goat. And I was like, all right, cool. But then the ranger and the druid were like, no, you can't sacrifice the goat. The goat's our friend, right? And they named it Cotton. So I decided at that point in time, well, actually, it took several sessions for me to decide, but like I started making Cotton just kind of show up. Like they'd be going through another dungeon and they'd open a locked door and Cotton would be on the other side of it, just sitting there. There's Cotton. they eventually took Cotton to a city, and they got Cotton all dolled up and like got his horns wrapped in gold, and like they Cotton became a regular fan NPC. And then I decided that Cotton was a polymorphed gold dragon.
Oh, I was hoping you were going this way. I love the trope of there's this thing, it's a dragon.
Yeah, so when they met, so later on, they had to meet with the Council of Metallic Dragons in the matter of this cult trying to summon Tiamat. And when they went, sitting among the dragons was Cotton.
Ha!
And then
The goat.
yes, as Cotton the goat. And they were like, they were used to it at this point. They didn't even question it. They were used to Cotton just like being places they didn't expect him to be. Like, we left you back at the guild hall, but there he is. And then he unpolymorphed, and like there he is. And
So
my ranger ended up marrying him.
hold on, wait, 2 steps back. Wait, what?
My ranger ended up marrying the dragon.
Yep.
So like in my version of Forgotten Realms, all dragons have 3 regular forms that they like to polymorph into. They have their dragon form, which is their true form. They have an animal form, a preferred animal that they like to transform into pretty regularly. So Cotton's obviously was a goat. And then they have a humanoid form. Not necessarily human, but like Cotton's was kind of like a tiefling who had white skin and gold horns.
Okay.
And so my ranger ended up marrying Cotton, and they had a child.
Half dragon savior.
Who I then played as a half elf, because the ranger was an elf. So I played their kid in a later campaign as a half elf dragon soul sorcerer.
Nice.
See, I love that so much that I'm absolutely stealing it for my game.
You're welcome.
And I love, those are 2 of my favorite things: trope of dragon being something, or like something actually end up being a dragon, and also goats. For the player or the listeners, is I have a desktop knickknack that goes.
That's funny.
And also, I now have the soundboard of same thing.
I like the Grande song.
So you feel free to steal it wholesale. You could even name him Cotton, and yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think my kind of thing like that is are dogs or coyotes or like scraggly wolves, but it's always like 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always around kind of when you need them, and they always have something you need, but it always comes at a price. Like, say, like you need something, and it's like, well, they lead you over to like the sword you need or something like that. But then you turn around and you're missing something on you. You're missing like, a sack of gold, or like that ring that you really liked or something like that.
You don't have to have that intense moment of like, am I going to die? You can just have the bartering aspect of, I really need this thing, but it's going to cost you. I mean, there's a whole thing about that. Somebody recently put out something like, you want this thing, it costs a copper, but it's a terrible thing. Like, there's a give and take. Like you can give that same impression of cause and effect without having the causes heroic deeds fighting the Cotton, the golden ancient dragon, and almost dying. It can be something as simple as, I paid a copper for this magical item, but it's the dollar store version of this magical item.
Oh my God, there needs to be a dollar store magic shop.
Yeah, it's the copper shop.
Do you have that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like this. It's this whole thing.
I thought you were just kind of just making that up as you went. Oh man,
somebody had that on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I heard it. It was TikTok. I'm again, like, I'm learning so much from TikTok, which I thought was just going to be silly stupid dances or like meme things from Vine, from what I remember.
Oh my gosh,
I'm learning so many great things from TikTok.
TikTok and Tumblr, great for D&D ideas.
Like, I have a whole Like once Tumblr got rid of the porn, there was really no reason for me to go back. One thing I was going to say earlier is like I have a whole Google Drive full of content that I pay for on an annual basis, and most of it isn't even porn. Like, most of it's actually Dungeons and Dragons related stuff, PDFs, like things that I got for either free online or from Patreon, because there are some amazing creators on Patreon that, like, I have a whole Patreon maps folder on my that I just kind of let all of my friends use for the free assets online. If you're a new DM and you can't afford like the all these books that I have behind me, like go online, find, whatever trope you want, put 5e at the end of it, PDF at the end of it, you will find it. The internet is full of things.
Yep.
If
I'm gonna go ahead and roll this into our last point because we are going over.
Well, I knew we were to, because we were all way too excited when we started this out.
Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go first to give you an idea of what we're doing, but just kind of rapid fire 3 creators that our listeners can go check out their stuff and follow in order to up their DM game. I'm gonna say on YouTube you need to look up Matthew Colville. He's got a playlist on his YouTube channel called Running the Game. And if you've never DM'd a game before, in just a couple of videos, he can have you running a one-shot for your friends, and it's very easy to do. Number 2, I've already mentioned him. Go check out Z Bashu. He will give you an idea of how you can take the game and bend it to your will. So he will show you, this is how the rules are written, and here's how they're intended. Here's how you can take that same rule without ever even changing it and make it work the way you want it to. Which is great knowledge to have as a dungeon master. And 3, I'm going to say if you have a TikTok, go find Quincy on TikTok. Yes. Quincy's Tavern. The cool thing about Quincy is he's going to give you ideas like to the ends of the earth because he takes every universe ever and has them visit his tavern. And you're going to get tons of ideas of things you can do for quests for your players.
And you get some cool cooking stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh yeah, and things you can cook for your players too, because we never got into this. But one of the things here's how I should have answered this when you asked what kind of DM I am. I am the DM who cooks for my players every week. Like every week, I cook a meal for my players, and my players love it. So
I'm the booze bringer. I just bring cheap beer and like here's beer, partake. I just want 6 of them. First off, I said it before, not another D&D podcast. If you're just very silly and you like just, tomfoolery and dumbfuckery, not another D&D podcast. It's Emily Axford and can't remember the name. They're College Humor folk. It's I cannot find their names now and it's escaping me. But yeah, it's
Brendan Lee and all them.
He was a guest, but he was not a consistent member. But yeah, like it's really silly and simple, and like they just have that really great kind of vibe. The other one is Brendan Lee Mulligan because he also has that silly vibe, but he also has an amazing storyteller. And Dimension 20 is probably one of the best productions of humor and the narrative storytelling that I've consumed. I guess the other one is one that I've only made my way half through, and it's also just because I'm really adapting to the suburban dad mentality. Is Dungeons and Daddies, hysterical podcast, also silly, super kind of reflects the kind of DM that I'm turning into lately. If you just want to sit there and listen to a storyteller of like just a whole bunch of friends playing things, any of those 3 will be great examples.
Nice. So I guess real quick, I would say Runesmith, and in connection to Runesmith would be the XP to level 3. They are all kind of working together in the same vein. Runesmith does have a Kickstarter going on right now. It's the Twisted. What is it? The Twisted something Tavern. The Traveler's Guide to Twisted Tavern, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. I know. I have some of their stuff. I just didn't realize who there was.
Yep. But that just launched on Kickstarter. Again, not sponsored, but totally. I love tavern stuff. But Red Dragon Inn is my favorite fucking board game, for God's sakes. But they got funded in 25 minutes. They got their stuff completely fun in 25 minutes, and they're already like 3 stretch goals in. So they're doing really good. Check it out. Next, I would say Mr. Rex. So that's MRRHEXX, especially if you love lore. If you love deep diving into orcs and kobolds and learning about these things, Bolo's Guide to Monsters is great. Mr. Rex is perfect.
On the same one is Jordan. PH is silent. Same thing. He's also does the exact same thing on YouTube.
Yes.
Saved my ass a lot of like, oh shit, I didn't prep anything. Let me go let me listen to his YouTube videos.
And then I would say you've probably not heard of him, but I follow him on Instagram. I'm pretty sure I found him on Tumblr though, and I know I was there for a while. I was supporting his Patreon. Is Billiam Babble, BILLIAMBABBLE. He does dungeon floor plans, and I've been following him for a while. And I say him because it's Billiam, so I'm assuming it's like a Bill or a William. So, but his floor plans are beautiful. They are beautifully rendered, and he has a Patreon, or at least I know he used to. I just kind of have it on, auto pay at this point. So I hope he's still updating it. He has all kinds of maps that he's done, and they're great for like just I don't think I've seen a lot of full land mask maps, but there are a lot of encounter maps.
Yeah.
And they're great. So yeah, Billion Babble. He definitely needs more love. He's only got like 3,000 followers on Instagram, and he's amazing. So
can you send me that link after this?
Sure can. You know what? I mean, yeah, that'll work.
Links
quick,
to
I'm
going to try to have links to all this and anything we talked about in the description of this podcast for anyone who's listening.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll work. I'll send it to both of you then.
Yeah, and on the other end of that, like if you want to do other stuff like what I was talking about earlier with the terrain building or miniature painting, Brush for Hire on Twitch, amazing show, Monday through Friday, work hours, unfortunately, so I can't really consume it as much as I used to. There's Miniac on YouTube. He also paints minis, but there's also Dungeons... Black Magic Craft. He's how I learned how to play or how to make terrain. Super easy to consume, super easy to learn, and you make some high detail things out of nothing. And he does it really well. And he has years of content on his YouTube, and he's still making things. So if you want to learn how to make terrain or just dioramas, that's your guy.
Nice. Well, if you couldn't tell by the frantic pace of this podcast, this is something that we are all very passionate about.
Oh, yeah.
Something we would love to pass this passion on to other people, especially to get other people to DM so that we can actually play once in a while. And and just know that this is a passion for a lot of people, and we love it very much. And we could probably talk about this for quite a few more hours. So hopefully we can pass this passion on down to you. Even if you don't ever run, just know what we do for fun, and we do to pass that fun down to you and see how happy this makes you. Your happiness matters to us, which is why that's my soft daddy Dom coming through, isn't it?
Just a little bit.
Dom coming through. But yeah, so yeah. Love you. Good night.
So yeah, it's not the being the forever DM is not the pain in the ass that everyone makes it out to be. I mean, it can be, but it's fun. So like, don't think if you are stuck being the DM that you can't have fun with it. You can have more fun being a DM than you have a player as long as you put the work into it. How much we geeked out and had fun just talking about DM and the different things you can do is a testament to that. Thank you very much for being on. If somebody likes what they've heard, where can they find the Disco Daddy online?
Well, I am the Disco Daddy on Facebook. You can find me right now. I'm not doing anything on Twitch, but it will be rebranded soon enough to co-align with what I'm doing right now, which is we're building a community of nerds of all persuasions, and it's supposed to be inclusive and welcoming to not only just nerds, but also to other content creators like y'allself, or we have content creators that do D&D stuff. We have content creators that do makeup tutorials in the community, and we want to help support our creators in the community by giving them a foundation to promote to or be a part of. At the time of this recording, have not announced our name, but we should be doing that very, very soon. Probably something goblin related, honestly. But but yeah, like if you want to find us, I'm sure there's going to be links somewhere around here to our Discord. That's kind of where we're kind of hanging out. But yeah, come find us. We love to have you. Come say hi and join the debauchery.
Got any of our people that are listening to this right now and you feel hesitant about making the jump over, just know that I'm over there right now, and I'm more than happy to welcome you into the community and make you feel welcome.
Yeah, we have a whole channel just for inspiration, and we have a whole channel just for people telling their tabletop stories. There is so many channels in there.
The Casters Guild is definitely a part of and will be supporting this community.
And likewise.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Send us any comments or questions to castersguild@gmail.com. I'd love to hear about your experience first time DMing after you listen to this podcast. Tell me your story. I will read it all. And if you have any other questions or anything else you'd like to talk about on the podcast, let us know. Find us on the socials, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Guild decree, soft dungeon dom is barren.
Bye.
Bye.